crazy when you think about before they could earn so much money by just focusing on their specific audience. As you say, the dangerous side of it, just from a music perspective, because this can go all over the place on many different levels.
The convenience though, Ridak, man, the convenience.
Yeah.
We're now allowing people not to have these false dreams, quote unquote, of being artists. This can totally destroy artistry, physical, human artistry. What's the point?
When you talk about the value of an artist now, it would be the lyrical content and then the way they would perform it. Now we have AI that can do both of those sides by mimicking that person.
With AI being the predominant force in regards to music.
But just imagine when you can wake up one day and just say to AI, create me a song. That's all you have to say.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to another episode of the Before Skynet podcast with myself, Mr. Rock. And today we're going to dig deeper once again, as we do, into the technology of the past, the present, and the future, and specifically focusing on AI because it's at the forefront of everything right now. And today I wanted to dig into the areas more of music. So we could be talking about things of, you know, when we grew up to where we are right now and what it's going to look like in the future and what it holds for artists, producers, and even the listeners. So with that said, this week I'm bringing my old school homeboy from back in the day and still my homeboy to this day, Noble from CFR Networks. How's it going, my brother?
Blessed. Give thanks, sibling. Glad to be here. Very much looking forward to an edutaining build regarding the rise of technology, AI, music, and everything in between, man. Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you were able to, you know, answer the call, the back call when I put it out and came through. So, as I said, what I want to really do is dig into the area of AI impacting music, but also, you know, we want to be talking about things of the past and how we've actually gotten to this point. You know, I'm seeing what the benefits are, but also what the negatives are of what's going to be happening. So, with that, I want to give a scenario of where we could be in the next couple of years. It could be even months or weeks, depending on how fast this technology is. So just imagine we could create a music track that had the flow of T.I., the wordplay of Rick Ross, the voice of Young Jeezy, better known as Jeezy, the music production and sounds and instruments of the Justice League, with a topic that is educational, such as how do I create a podcast and make the most of it on the internet, creating some visuals straight from AI as well, and last but not least, the chorus being sang by Beyonce. Just imagine that we could do this without having to speak or communicate with any of these artists. The way things are going right now, it's something that is expected to happen. But in the meantime, what will that mean for the artists and for the listeners? So there's just something I wanted everyone just to take the time to really think about the impact of that and how much of a reality it could be. But first of all, before we go into the future, let's think about the past. So, Noble, me and you have had a career, as we could put it. You know, the history of, you know, the things that we've done and, you know, how we've listened to music. So, you know, initially when we first became friends, one of the key formats at that point was the tape.
Yes.
Yeah. And we could go back even further than that and think about 8 tracks, but that was a little bit before us, probably on the cusp when we were born, but showing our age right now. But, you know, and then we had vinyl and tape. So what did tapes mean to you? Like growing up, how did you feel like using tapes that changed your life? Because there was instances where, you know, you could buy tapes, but also you could, you know, copy tapes, you know, and the impact of that, because before it was just a tape player, but then we had the tape-to-tape reels, and it really did transform the way we listen to music, right?
Well, Rock, as you say, the cassette tape
That's it. The cassette tape.
is what the format which in essence, when we was on the co-op, that was the revolutionary thing, because our mothers, our fathers, uncles, everybody else, they had a stack of wax of the old vinyl, you know, that classic dropping it on and you're hearing that.
Yep.
And then the tune comes on and you've got that little raspy little sound kind of.
Yeah.
But when tapes came in, there was none of that kind of sounds.
Yeah.
You know, that raw needle sound or anything. It was literally a perfect sound. The vocals were totally on point. I mean, even with the creativeness of some of the record companies historically, it was a clear tape with white writing on there. Inside of that tape would be like a gray little section to then push out the color of that. And then they would sometimes play with like a limited edition red cassette or something, or maybe a blue one. Or if they didn't do that with the specific cassette tape, they would do that with the cassette cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The fact that you mentioned the cover is one of the biggest things that we'll definitely dig into. But yeah,
so it was a revolutionary thing. Cassette tapes was revolutionary, as you say as well. In regards to the first part of it was obviously the tape itself, and if you were lucky enough, you know, for your parent or parents to purchase a Walkman, a Sony Walkman, you were creme de la creme if you could get yourself a Sony Walkman. Otherwise, you would just get yourself a normal cassette player kind of thing, AOL, Sharp, or, you know, one of the other brands will do.
Yeah.
And you literally could, not create, but you would be you would simulate your own little world of sorts, because you'd have your cassette tape, your backpack, your headphones, and that was it. The artist would then take you on a journey through their experiences, through their life, and you're being exposed from a little youth in Brum to a whole nother world, a whole nother concept, whole nother ideas.
Yeah.
It was groundbreaking.
And one of the key things back then was a world that actually existed, because, you know, you could say like a large portion of those artists actually lived that life, you know, and were from those backgrounds. So the colors that they were painting for our ears were actually real. Whereas nowadays, you know,
studio gangsters, I think
yeah. So the tape was, you know, something that impacted everybody of that time. Like anybody and everybody had some kind of access, even if they didn't own, they knew somebody who did, and were able to borrow tapes, you know, going to the store and physically buy tapes. You know, that could be an event that you, I won't say event, it was like a day that you went out because you knew something was releasing, you went to go and buy it in its physical format. And there was an era of like excitement actually going to a store and buying something on release date when it came to music. And the impact of that to the industry and for the artists, you know, you would build more of a relationship with the artist because you were selective of who you listened to and what you listened to and how much time you spent on it. And if there's a specific track on the album, you could be like, yeah, that is the banger. And that could be a banger for, even to this day, you can remember some of these songs, you know? So we went from tapes to what was up next was the CD, the compact disc.
Yep.
Yeah. When that compact disc came in, it was something that I was kind of late to. More so because we didn't have it in the house and stuff. But when it came through, the quality that it provided to the ears was, next level. And it was always the same every time you played it, apart from if you got a scratch on it, for example. But the tape would, over time, diminish in quality. But the CD, as long as you kept that thing squeaky clean and no scratches, it produced the same no matter where you played it and when you played it, right?
And the cost, one thing to add to that, Bill Rock, is the cost elements. Now, because of the types of music we used to listen to, initially it would have been more of the commercially of sorts kind of stuff, but because it was hip hop / rap, that wasn't the biggest selling industry as it is now. So we had to pay a premium for that there. So a tape would run us a maximum of, was it like $13.49 from recollection for a tape. And then when the CD came, the compact disc came, we were looking anywhere, because we had to specifically go to Tempest Records on Bull Street. Sometimes we'd have to go to Swordfish Records as well if we wanted, some wax maybe, because I wasn't too heavy on the CD game. But we were paying no less than £17.49 for this CD. And we weren't buying just one CD, Rock. So it was a very expensive game, but this is the power of music. This is the authenticity of music at that time. This was us, again, being selective in regards to what we were going to listen to and who we were going to align our, in essence, helping us as young men, young teenagers, develop into young men, into grown men. And I think that the musical choices that we made, some took us down some avenues, but the majority of the music that we got, even if we didn't fully understand it then, it put us in a real good stead, man. Real good stead.
Yeah, definitely. Like for the young black male, growing up in the UK, having those words and listening to, influential characters, or I shouldn't say characters, actual people that had something to say, that gave us insight into history where we find that hard to probably access or ask other people about. It was fed to us. I think that is something that, to this day has enabled me to become the person that I am, many different areas, because there's things I learned at an earlier age that I wouldn't have learned without music, without having access to, go and purchase music or copy and share music and have the conversation that we had growing up with each other about music. Fast forward to today, just briefly. I don't think a lot of the younger generation or the younger generated music is actually doing that for the young people. So the accessibility to be able to create music, without having to go to a big studio, without having to pay a lot of money, it then produces a lot of stuff that isn't that great for society, but it makes them money, so they keep pushing that negative narrative. But yeah, I'm going off one a little bit there. But
No, but before we continue with this compact disc, which we can go back and forward with this, because again, we're talking about the purchasing of the original material.
Yes.
Now let's swing back a little bit to when we used to walk up the ramp, and we used to go a little bit further into Palisades and stuff, and there used to be a couple gentlemen hollering out, "Music tips, music tips," and these gentlemen, as the Americans would call them, these were bootleggers. So they had TDK tapes, 90-minute tapes, sometimes just mixtapes with all of the, current hip hop that's out. A lot of it was more reggae and dancehall related. but they saw the niche and saw the rise and power in hip hop and said, "Wait a minute, let me put some cotton buds in the two sides.
Yeah.
I got my double C, my double player, and I'm gonna record that out. And let's filter that down to the me and you. Rock, I just got that new so and so. Well, okay, let's go back to your mom's and I'll get a pack of 5 TDKs or the MA90s or the MX90s if we was gonna go on that baller thing.
Yeah.
And then we'd go back, we'd listen, we'd be on the bus, 87 and whatever, and we'd be going through the tape, the cassette tape, we'd be studying the cover. We'd be looking at the tracks, who produced them, who mixed them, who were the writers. Then we'd get back and then we would record that there,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And that was a weekend's worth of enjoyment, the whole process of, listening to certain things and rewinding that and playing that back or listening to those lyrics. And, it was something that, enabled us to grow in many areas. It wasn't just an area of just, listening to music, but the whole process of being and meeting up and going down the process of picking up the tapes and, going to each other's houses. And, we were building our friendship all through every step of that.
And then, as I say, so then moving over to the cassette tapes, now technology has, because we're having a technological build, and that's where we're painting that vivid picture. The CD, the compact discs came. Technology had greatly advanced. Prior, it was stacker systems that was running things in regards to your home entertainment systems. Now AOL and Pioneer were like, oh look, let's make full hi-fi systems. We'll put a CD player in there. Actually, you know what? We're not going to put a CD player. We're going to put a multi-change 5 CDs you can put in there. Yeah. And we're going to put a record facility for your tapes because I know y'all taping. So we're going to give you that as the consumer. So that again enabled us to tape from CD to tape, from tape to tape. And that again, within the advent of the lowering of the prices of PCs and CD rewriters, that again, like it was. And then we had, I'm skipping a little bit, but this ties in. We had LimeWire. We had Napster.
Yeah.
That was actually, I'll let you continue. I'll let you segue into that section.
Yeah. Before we jump on to the next format, there was something in between that, which was more for visuals, the Laserdisc. Don't know if you remember Laserdisc.
Oh, Laserdisc. Yes, of course.
Yeah. So that
Which
was
flopped.
big time. That was like a vinyl record sized CD, really. But yeah, that didn't really take off. But in terms of when we started moving away from the physical format, there was something that we started to lose, which was being able to sit down and read through the inlay in a tape or a CD. And for us, it was something that educated us even deeper in terms of what music was, how it was created, who created it. We could listen to certain styles of music and be like, oh, this is such and such, or this is that person, because we've tuned our ears to the point where we can understand, the way a particular artist will play drums or play melodies, and we can relate it to them and be like, oh, you can give you credits to a specific person because of their style, but it was also written in an inlay. So unlike today where we have a lot of the producers with the tags that will, just highlight who they are within the track. Back then, it wasn't really done as much, but you could always go to the physical format and read and know who exactly created it, produced it, on all the different levels. And I think that's something that nowadays you can, to a degree, find it, but not in the same level of depth as we could back then.
I don't think it's necessarily a want now.
Yeah.
As the consumer, pardon myself, as the consumer's taste and sensibilities have moved on, it's all look, we're in the growing year of 2023.
Yep.
Music is now like fast food.
Yes.
So it's like, this weekend, Too Hot for School is jamming in the clubs, man.
Yeah.
That's all I want to hear. Thursday comes, it's I Missed the Bus Crisscross remix with Young Jeezy or Lil Durk or whoever's popping now. I don't even know, sibling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's I don't produced it. Don't the rappers don't they do all that themselves? There's a producer. What's a producer?
Yep.
I just listen to this and dance.
Mm-hmm.
Someone mixes it. Hold up, there's someone who engineers it after.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. So all of that is lost to, the consumer nowadays. And I'm just wondering what the impact how that impacts the producers, the creators, that in terms of their value to the business itself. So in terms of, what the revenue is for them, are they still able to create more or less?
It's a tricky one unless you've got a huge name per se.
Mm-hmm.
And there is I'm going to throw a curveball in this because do you remember Happy Perez?
Yes. Yeah.
He's a super big time commercial like producer now, like from way back a day.
Yeah, I remember Happy Perez. Well, when you say, sorry, go on.
He was Young Bleed, CeeLo, concentration camp,
yeah,
right. And then obviously there was a period, we was heavily into the culture and stuff, and then obviously as we start to grow, we don't kind of pay attention as much.
Yeah.
Well, in that period of me not paying attention, and then me reestablishing contact with a lot of the New Orleans artists and stuff, they're telling me like Happy's gone clear. He's working with all kind of like mainstream artists now. Well, from that period. So, and he wasn't known, but he had a sound.
Yeah.
Happy Perez has got a sound. Mike Dean, John Bedo, Platinum Souls, Dope E of the Terrorists. They've got a sound. You hear it. T-Mix.
Yeah.
Suave House, like when you hear, okay, that's Beto.
Yeah.
It's a Jungle Style production. That's N.O. Joe. Okay. You immediately align that sound with that person. Then the artist comes on. It's like, of course, if so and so comes on this beat, man, it's gonna be over.
Yeah.
They can line up, they know it, they can ride the beat, this and that. So the connection as the consumer's point, we've got a connection with not only the artist, not only the producer, but now we're looking at the label as we followed labels. Anything that came out on Black Market, we were copying. Anything on Rapper like was copying, Cash Money, you name it, because they brought not a culture, a lifestyle, a sound,
the sound,
a soundtrack. These were mini soundtracks in essence.
Yeah, man. The depth that producers bring to the game is something that back in the day, and people in the industry can really grasp and understand and appreciate. But even when it came down to the people who mixed the music, on the boards, and certain people were known for being able to mix to a good level, or bring certain punches in the kick drum, or how the guitar sounds, or something like that.
Yes.
These people were appreciated, and I feel nowadays that is something that's kind of going away, but there is a potential for that to be something big in the future, which I'll touch on a little bit later on as well.
Okay. And before you carry on, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Precise, and if I move up out to the south, because that's all I've spoken about is the south. Heat Makers, man. I don't know how people are just Dame Grease. People are forgetting that sound. Heat Makers, Alchemist, even Alchemist, we can throw Alchemist in there. What? Come on.
Yeah, man. I think our generation are still in tune with these artists and these producers. I think, a lot of the younger people nowadays may or may not, check in and understand the background and stuff like that. But as you said, a lot of the music nowadays is as good as it is. There's so much out there that you consume it one day and then you let go of it the next, which is something that the music industry has been impacted very negatively, I would say, from that perspective, because what music used to mean for us today doesn't mean the same for the current state of things today. So moving off the back of that, when we went from the tape to the compact disc to the streams and downloads now. Mm-hmm. So this is before these major companies decided to jump on the bandwagon and actually create these platforms that were enabling the people to stream for a subscription each month. So you had like what was it, LimeWire?
Yeah.
There was a
SoulSeek. I used to love that one.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. There was LimeWire. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were now, but I know for me that was a go-to. It was just able to go onto that website and click on the file, and there was two versions of that. You could download directly from there, or you could use your downloading application. So you could download the whole compressed file.
Yes.
And that in itself, I guess the negative impact that it had, it was good in the sense that, people were more exposed to music, that people that couldn't afford it, for example, from different parts of the world where it wasn't accessible to, have certain CDs and tapes in stores and stuff like that. So it did bring a lot of people, a lot of publicity and, how can I put it?
Exposure,
yeah. So it was good for promoting from that perspective, but in terms of the revenue that people were able to make back of it, it had quite a detrimental impact to the industry, and still has, really, because when we think about the physical tapes and CDs that we could purchase before, the percentage of what people were getting for it, they could more or less control it themselves if they wanted to. One of the main things that they had to think about was the distribution. Once they could physically create the CDs, it would just be, the distribution partner who would fill in the other side of it, and they could make a deal on it, and they could be in control of it. Go on.
You're going to be amazed. And you may already know this, but when I've spoken to multiple artists that we used to listen to, and some of them were making as a minimum $9 a CD. Pressed and good to go.
Jeez.
And they're moving 30,000, 60,000. Some of them were 90,
Yeah.
It's just a different world, man.
Yeah, man. And they had the control of it.
Yeah.
If they wanted to sell it in their own city, they could go, sell it out of the back of the trunk, network with other people in different cities and distribute it that way. They had the ability to share the income with many other organizations and people and companies and whatnot.
The mom and pop stores, which we don't have, sibling. The little independent stores, the Ruby Reds, and was it Ruby Reds that we had in England, Wolverhampton, and
I don't remember that.
But that was at a time when I'm sure it was Ruby Reds. I'm sure they had a couple stores, but the artists, not just in hip hop, but in other genres, reggae, dancehall, etc.,
yeah,
they were feeding. It was an ecosystem. I'm gonna create it. Yeah, I've got distribution channels, or I'm physically gonna drive to you. I'm gonna drop off 200 CDs.
Yes,
I'll be back in a month, kind of thing.
Yeah,
It really messed a lot of stuff up, and then also it for us initially.
Mhm.
I'm saving like £130 a week
Yeah.
downloading this thing. I don't even need to go to town, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But then I'm losing the connection. I'm not physically touching that CD no more. I'm not on the 88 or the 82 going back, just opening up the Tempest back, just going through all the CDs, opening them up, thinking, damn, I can't wait to get home and play this. Now I'm just like, okay, this is going to take what? 8 minutes and 42 seconds to download. All right, then I'll have that one, I'll have that one, I'll have that one.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got so much content that it has the value's gone.
Yep. Yeah. So much so. So much. It, in one sense, it opened us up to be able to focus on more so what we really did like, you know, and be a bit more channeled to there. But as time went by, the more and more influences and, you know, abilities to download and have access to kind of started to, you know, get people to start straying away and looking in more areas than they actually needed to. But I think also off the back of that, we had enough time embedded in that ecosystem to understand who we liked and what we liked. You agree?
100%. And it wasn't down to we were marketed that way. We made that decision, and then maybe 2-3 years later, the artists who we were talking about and listening to and now have become into the mainstream kind of awareness.
Yeah, for real. It's deep when we think about it. When I start to think and relate it to where we are now and where we're going, you know, it's twofold. In one sense, that it could be very negative to anybody that's trying to come and be an artist and be a creator. But then on the other side, there's opportunities for people that have been at those levels in the past to actually come back. Yeah. Because if you think,
Agreed.
because if we move on to now, we went from the downloads that weren't necessarily paying the artists to now we have the streaming services.
Gosh.
And the counts and the small percentage of what the artist gets, you know, is crazy when you think about before they could earn so much money by just focusing on their specific audience and feeding those audience. Now it's kind of like, well, you can feed to everybody, but you're gonna have to pay the price for it.
Yeah. It's especially with a young sense of mind growing up in this is all you know, is people just going viral for songs or for a song or so, and you don't necessarily hear about them, you know, quote unquote one hit wonders. So I gotta make a hit.
Yeah.
All right, then. If I grow my hair or get some extensions in that look like dreadlocks, I dye the tips of them. Okay, maybe I can go see an East Indian lady and get henna in my face and pretend they're tattoos, or even just get blatant tattoos all in my face.
Yeah.
Get the neck done, get the sleeve done, and then auto-tune my voice. Who's popping now? Okay, it's little Zay Zay. Okay, I'm going to do da. And it's just ride waving.
Yep.
It's ride waving. That's all we're doing, man. So rather than being authentic, like who am I as a person? What do I want to do? Like who did I look up to? Now, again, if you're young, you might look up to a character who doesn't necessarily have like much about them, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But you've still got someone to kind of model yourself off, and from there it should be okay. That's my influence. How can I put my stamp on it?
Yes.
Remember before, it's about making. It's not like we linked up at the stoplights and then go down to wherever store and said, okay, you get that. Yeah. We'll both get 2 of them. I'll get those trainers as well.
Yeah.
And Black Cat Alistair came and all 4 of us. We never walk around looking like twins.
Nah, man.
Huh?
Nah.
We want to be different. We
Yeah,
want to be
man.
individual.
Not intentionally. Sometimes we might have the same flavor of something, and we turn up with the
Yes.
same thing. But it was never like, oh, let me buy this song. I'm looking like you because that's the way to do it. That's the way I can be me. Nah.
Yes, it's really challenging. It's very, very challenging for today's society, consumer-wise.
Yep.
Well, for people who have kind of gone through what we've gone through, and people who are older, I guess that they can be a lot more selective in the same manner. Like, okay, I'll allow Spotify, for instance, to show me these recommended things, and I might listen to a few of them. But no, these are the artists I'm primarily looking after and looking to hear their music. Whereas today, it's show me, man. I'm into whatever, man. Like whatever's popping. Because it's popping, Rock.
Yep.
Why would I listen to something that's not popping? It ain't popping.
Yeah. People want to try and, if I don't know about this, then I'm out the loop. I can't connect with this group of people. And the way the machine is being created is not, let's say, the algorithm. As much as the algorithm is like trying to provide you with what it thinks that you are interested in, at the same time, it can be manipulated to feed you exactly what they want you to. So if they can control the platform, they can control what you're going to be interested in, what your friends and everybody else in and around your circle is going to be interested in, and keep you over here where they control what they have the most invested in. So then young people now, I need to understand or know this music or know these artists to feel relevant in my group of friends. Sometimes I feel it myself. Like I'm like, who's this artist? And I, see these people singing it and rapping it around me. I'm like, yo, am I really at the loop like that? I might feel like
We are.
old, but it's then when I relate to other people around me of my same age, and then I feel, oh, okay, that's just their thing.
And some of it's cool, Rock. Some of it's like musically, and this is the crazy thing, because it's contradictory of sorts. But some of this new age stuff, this new age so-called, I call it hip hop. Some of the music, and because it's designed that way, if the music wasn't good, no one's going to listen to it.
Yeah.
So they are creating some really interesting melodies.
Yeah.
What I would love, though, what I would really love, Rock?
Go.
I would love. Remember back in the day when, like when Ice Cube was jacking for beats and stuff, and we can skip a little bit more forward, and we can go to the Man Down South and Swisher House and SUC. Mans would just take the hottest beat that's popping and just rip it to shreds. This is what we need. I think, I really, really think, and I've spoken to some people and like, because of the copyright and all that. Allow all that you were doing it before when selling CDs, man.
Yep.
So do it. So these youngsters will they'll stumble across the beats, hear you destroying it, and then they'll be saying, hold up, let me go on the old Spotify or the old BoobTube. Let me see what else this person's done. And then they start to dig into the catalog and say, oh my days, then this is an old timer and he can do stuff like this on new beats. Hint to the wise, man.
The thing about that is, it would be so great if that could happen. The only downside the biggest downside I find is that they own all these platforms. So they can control, like, oh, we're not getting paid from this. No, it's not going out.
True that.
The algorithm isn't set to distribute this anymore. Even though it's free or it's on a beat or it's like a combination of something. Nah, if it ain't lying in our pockets, it's not going. And if you think about all the platforms, because we've moved so far away from actual physical, music in terms of like owning the CDs, owning the tapes and records, you can't distribute it like we used to. So it's virtually in their hands that they control the distribution of everything now. You know, I think it's only if it's local artists, you know, from down south or wherever, different cities in the US or the UK or wherever it is, they could hit a certain market there, or they can create shows to bring people in to experience that. But actually owning and being able to, you know, connect to the internet or find a way of streaming that, it's so controlled now.
Yeah.
It's out of our hands. It's out of the hands of the creators themselves. You know? And off the back of that brings us into the more modern day as where we are right now. So of recent, as we're talking about the control and the algorithm and how the industry is being managed, we're at a point now where we're moving away from actually owning the rights or the intellectual properties of certain things. So of recent, there have been, you know, there's quite a lot of artists that have been mimicked or recreated in a form that they're taking people's voices and running it through these platforms with AI and being able to manipulate the system to make it sound like an artist. So a particular artist that didn't even record the track, producers and creators now are able to use these platforms and these plugins to either one, create the lyrical style and cadence of an artist, and then two, use another platform to mimic the sound and how that person delivers the words in that voice. So in this particular example is, I won't say the name for now, but I'll play it and then everyone can, you know, figure out who this person is. So as we're playing it, we'll probably, you know, just talk over it a little bit and discuss what we think about it.
Just give me that golden era sound.
For real.
Tell the young they can never become what they aspire to. Born in a cell with no one who can inspire you.
Your highs are as never as high as those that lie to you.
Pretending that they live in the sky, lying behind your roof.
Shooting holes up at your ceiling, trying to find the proof, trying to fight the feeling, the truth.
Tied up like the noose they've been concealing.
Dipped in diamonds so that you find it appealing.
Time for dealing.
I'm jamming, you know, sibling.
We are the savages, the natives who fight the appeal of all your lavishes. The brave who find what is real and call it as it is.
And use a mind wheel to escape the laws of averages.
To be rich and broke,
Could it be broke and rich? You see, it all gets flipped by those who master this.
who give a whole new meaning to what your master says. Jumping over the walls on old mattresses, the savage.
This is dangerous, Rock. This
Yeah,
is
man.
dangerous.
So as this plays in the background, I think, as you say, the dangerous side of it, just from a music perspective, because this can go all over the place on many different levels, some things that I'll talk about in the future. But
Self-fulfilling prophecy, they drilling.
creators now are able to mimic someone to sound authentic in probably a couple of hours. Where does the artist stand now when it comes to their creative powers and their reach and their value? Do you know what I mean? So I think when you talk about the value of an artist now, it would be the lyrical content and then the way they would perform it. Now we have AI that can do both of those sides by mimicking that person. What do you think about, now this is here, the future of music would be, or how will it be impacted from your perspective?
Okay. My cup, as you don't know, overfloweth. So I'm going to answer this in two ways. the positive and in the negative. Starting with the positive, this can only, in my opinion, potentially push artists to step their bars up, push their content levels up. Party and bullshit and party and bullshit. That was 1992 or something like that.
Yeah.
We're in the Gregorian year of 2023. Party and bullshit. That's cool for like maybe 10% of the songs, but all of the songs can't be about that, man.
Yeah.
All of the songs can't be about that. So on the positive, it can enable artists to say, what on earth these mans are doing that? Hold up. You know, when ego comes into play as well, the old ego,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something better than that, boss. If they can do that on a computer, I'm a flesh and being human, man.
Yep.
Nah, I'm switching this up, man. I remember they used to talk about the golden era. I'm bringing it back, man. I'm going to come with this boom back thing. I'm going to bring some lyrics as well, man. I see what's going on. I see the injustices. I can do some social commentary, man. Yeah, man. Allow the gun talk or allow the pill popping talk. I can do something. Now, on the negative side, this can totally destroy artistry, physical human artistry. What's the point? I'm like someone. Let's play or paint a hypothetical picture. We're in the Gregorian year of 2023. Someone born in 2000 and let's say 18. They then become a grown person with this. They've grown up with AI being the predominant force in regards to music. Okay, I'm really into music. You know, I've got the computer. I've got the RAM capabilities.
Yep.
I'm downloading those plugins. I'm gonna be the next man. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean there'll probably be a subculture of the icons, the influencers, as they'll probably even have a different title. They won't be called producers, they won't be called artists, they'll just be called like AIers or
Yeah.
something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those will be the next people like, nah, man, we don't do that. We just press things on the buttons, man. That's how we make our money. We ain't got no musical talents per se. We just allow AI
Yeah.
to run this thing with a few hints and a few nudges from ourselves, and you know what I mean? We create these hits.
That is something that I feel will last probably the next 2 years. The next 2 years, people will be on this level where they're using all these tools and these platforms to create, you know, these sounds of different people, you know. But just imagine when you can wake up one day and just say to AI, create me a song. That's all you had to say. They understood what you were doing for the week, what you got planned coming up, your music style that you're into, your mood, your heart rate, for example, in that point. And it might be calculating all these things to say this is the song that you need. And just imagine, within not even 2 minutes, that song starts playing for you. You're never gonna need an artist to create for you because it creates everything for you.
Let's go one step further, Rock. I'm going on a 2-state road trip. Music to ride to, AI, 12 hours.
Yeah.
I need that there.
Yeah.
I'm going through these states.
Yeah.
Pardon myself. So the AI looks, okay, the weather's going to be like this. The temperature's going to be here. He's going to be going through this scenery. Okay. Let's do for 45 minutes or for an hour and a half. Let's play like a banjo influence kind of riff with some soul background and a little this and da-da-da, and you're good to go, man. The convenience, though, Ridoc, man, the convenience.
Yeah.
We're now allowing people not to have these false dreams, quote unquote, of being artists. These people who was going to be artists, they can now concentrate on doing something more productive for society. They can flip burgers at Wendy's, you know what I mean? They can stack shelves that they're flipping at Lowe's or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? We don't know. Or if they're that way inclined, still creatively, they can create these AI tracks for us as well. We can do them ourselves, obviously, but someone else doing them, we can listen to some of that as well.
Yeah. And the same way you described it, you described the situation, the events that were happening, the type of music, the sound that you wanted and everything like that. That's just around the corner. That step is just around the corner, just like how we can use the tools right now to create graphics by prompting these platforms. The music is coming next, and it's really scary to now realize that there are going to be so many people that could have been creators who are never going to be given that level of achievement or respect as being a creator, because how are you going to know who really created it from scratch, from their own ideas, compared to who created it using AI? Unless that person can be there and perform it and create it on the spot. But even then, people can still remember how AI taught them to do something, or the words or whatnot, and just create it.
Mimic it.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope, man. It's very slippery. But the implications in regards to the artist's rights, surely they have with a, I'm not 100% familiar, but let's say an artist who signs a 360 deal, the company owns everything of them, their likeness, everything. So as an artist, surely not only their name, like we can't just take a Tupac track and use all of that, because that's copyright, isn't it? Is surely the like, how does that work? How would that work in a legal framework?
So when we see artists that sound like other artists, there was Tupac and there was it The Realist?
Yes, indeed. Well, no, let's be crystal clear. If we're going to say that, we have an artist who sounded the same, that really sounded and patterned himself like Tupac. Okay. And the look as well.
Yeah. Okay, from that perspective, if he mimicked somebody, then okay. But we could have people that sound, so much alike, or their cadence or their style, which part we can sound like Jay-Z, but let me just tweak this a little bit so they can't get me for it. But you're still getting the Jay-Z vibe.
Yeah, okay. And to be fair, there was a time in hip hop where that's all people were doing. And actually, if you think about it, that's what people are doing right now. The tones, the sounds, the look. That's all people. That is quote unquote. Well, no, not hip hop. Hip hop. That's what's going on now. So yeah, it's being done. It's a slight tweaking, the slight changing. A little ad lib here and a little something there, and yeah, it's just fresh and new. Yeah, man. There's so many ways that they could, gain that control back. Even though people are creating things new, it's how they're gonna patent it. That opens up a rabbit hole. Like, I don't even see how they could, unless the system, which is allowing this stuff to take place, then says, you know what, I feel sorry for you artists. You're going to be out of a job real soon. You know what, we're going to allow you to copyright your tone, your cadence, your rhyme style, all of that. We'll let you do it. I just don't see it, man. I see this as, and this is the craziest thing, if you look at it, some people will understand. I think a majority will understand. Music is so integral to life. Music is the heartbeat of life. And depending on where you are in the stage of life, it's more important or it's less important, but it still forms part of the heartbeat of life. Yeah. But just imagine this. This is something just came to mind.
What if you get to be an artist per subscription? So how we have subscriptions for all these applications now, you could be this artist, you can listen to this style of artist delivery and cadence and lyrical content for $49 a month. And you can create it however you want. Because they own it. If they own someone's masters and they own the certain contracts that relate to certain people, what's stopping them from doing that, right? Subscription-based music.
Yo. What? Listen, you heard it here first. This is nothing but exclusives. Man is dropping. Like, what? You know the uptake in that?
Yep.
The uptake will be out of this world, Rock.
Yeah. You don't have to listen to anybody else's. This music is your music, how you want it.
Yeah.
You don't really, it gets to the point where people won't really care. They might share a few things with other people, but, like during the day or in my car or on the bus, I'm listening to the music that I want, exactly the way I want it, when I want it, if I want it, for $59.99. And it probably ain't gonna be that expensive.
No, let's go there, man. And in the following year, it's gonna be $79.99. But look, okay, see, it's all flowing now. Do you remember during the zombie apocalypse, there were parties taking place with people with headphones?
Yep.
And they were listening to a DJ, right? So let's transpose that onto what you've just said. So we're now in the Gregorian year of 2033, and everything on the negative has manifested, and there is no more artists. There were just these soundtrack. There were just these subscriptions. So when you go to a bar or a nightclub, there is no sound outside of people maybe exchanging. Everyone has headphones on, and they're listening to their own soundtrack.
For real. Because even now, you think about like we put headphones on and we have the ability to hear outside, but at the same time hear our own music, but we can still communicate and talk to people. When that becomes such a day-to-day thing, like you say, going to clubs, it could be on that basis that you go in and you might tune into the tempo. So everyone's moving to the same beat, but you're hearing something totally different. But you're having a good time because everyone perceives music differently as it is anyway. So it's just taking it to the next level. But yeah.
Listen, I think just we're not manifesting this into the physical realm, 10 years down the line, but it would seem the way technology is moving just like in light speed terms.
Yeah.
And this AI element. And let's look at it. Let's look at everyone. When people think of AI, and other people who are more into the tech world might have a different answer. But when I think of AI and I think of a prominent person, I think of Mr. Musk, that strange character.
Mr. Musk? Who's Mr. Musk?
Elon Musk.
Oh.
I mean, polite to him, call him Mr. Musk. Right? So I'm thinking of this character, right? He's quite contradictory because at one point he was saying, was it on Joe Rogan? He was saying about the warning of the dangers of AI and we need to stop and all this business.
Yeah.
And then he's on I don't think it was a TED Talk. It was some kind of technological platform. And he was sitting there with a male and a female. I was watching it today, actually, in preparation of this conversation. And he was saying, yeah, we need to have, we're working on a way to have AI as just sitting outside of your cerebral cortex. Now, based upon what we've just been speaking about, can you imagine this?
Yeah.
AI being integrated with your physical anatomy to the point where it's going to sit in between the layers of your brain and how your brain, your motor neural system is, all of those systems is going to have a buffer where AI is saying, well, wait a minute. Oh, I don't want you to overexert yourself right now. You need to slow down. And wait a minute, the way you're thinking, that's way too negative. Let's keep you in the George Orwell 1984 status. Let's just keep you on the straight and narrow, sir. Yep. And in some ways, let's look at it non-benign. Even though this makes us all into robots. If that could take place, there would be no crime, would there? We would be in literally utopia. If the AI would be running correctly, then in essence, everything would be roses and flowers. Because there'd be no jealousy, there'd be no envy, there'd be no pride. Because what would be the use for that? Because the AI is telling you that everything that you have is wonderful. The situation you're in, the lifestyle, the relationship, if that's even a thing. You know, you're in paradise.
The only thing about that, though, it doesn't create for the people up there, for everybody to be in paradise, right?
This is only right now. This is three-dimensional / fourth-dimensional realm we're talking.
And now we have all these subliminal messages that are communicated to us on a daily, and we're so out of tune with it now. Just imagine when it comes through in your music. As much as you might want to create a certain type of music, it will create it, but with a hint of what we need you to do, what we want you to do, how low we want to keep you. Because in theory and in practice, that's what they do now with music. You know, all the uplifting music that we could be listening to is kind of like shoved it to the side. Let's give you more of this.
Yes. And to take it to more physical sense, when you go to the gymnasium to work out, you're not listening to ballads and love songs, are you? That's not the tempo we need.
Nah.
We need a harder, upbeat tempo. You know, maybe depending on your genre of music, we may go over, since we're talking hip hop and all the different subgenres, we may go into the gangster rap genre to really give us some visuals to go along with the physicalities that we're doing to get us kind of into that quote unquote zone. So the power of music, if we cannot forget how powerful music is, and music should have a purpose, a true purpose. Now, there is a time and a place. Like if you want to go to the club, fiesta. You know, they have to. You know, there's times and places. You know, I mean, you know, we have your party stuff, and then the DJ said, "Okay, let me bring the tempo," because you know the disc jockey. He's the one who's moving the crowd, right? He's getting them up. He's getting them to them high places. But at the moment, we've got disc jockeys who are only keeping them in them high places, up tempo, bam, 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 bam. He's not bringing them back down. He's not giving them, you know, them little love songs there, the little. And to be fair, I mean, what is actually out there of today's standard, which they could play? There's nothing. I don't think that they would play in a club setting where he's giving them that kind of, oh no, I can come down now. We've been jamming now for 45 minutes on that hype team. Now I can just, you know, slower tempo.
Yeah. There's always going to be that up tempo bit that kind of like, you know, gets the adrenaline running, rushing, you know, makes you think about certain things, makes you hyper, makes you want to, you know, people want to drink and interact and do certain things that they wouldn't usually be doing if they were just chill. But it's the industry and how they've made it and how they are making it. As much as, you know, we don't necessarily think about it day to day, but the, you know, the puppet masters, they're still up there you know, making us dance, man.
It-
It gets deep. It gets deep. Okay, so you know, finally, you know, we've gone through a lot of the past, present, and the future of music. But from your, sorry, so we've gone through the past, present, and future, and we talked about a lot of the negatives that, you know, are impacted by AI and things like that. One thing I did really think about is people that are real artists and real performers. This will be a great opportunity for them to come back out of the woodworks. I want to say out of the woodworks because they don't really get much exposure as they could do. But as artists start to dwindle away and there's not really any good artists, this could open a door for real old school artists. And when I say old school, I just mean real, actual people that create and have created music in the past to now come back and provide something that is of a lot more worth. So when we talk about performances, we talk about festivals and concerts, those are going to be things that not anybody can do. So it gives them, if they really start to focus on it now and being tuned to it, that is an income revenue that can't be replicated, because a lot of those people that have grown up in the last 20 years, for example, 20, 30 years, have probably lost those skills and not able to provide that, whereas these people are. So as much as there's a real big negative impact of where AI is, I think for people that are in this industry or have been in the industry and a real artist, there's an avenue and there's a door open for them there. You know,
I agree. I mean, if we just look at a different genre, Black Sabbath, they're still touring and stuff. Aerosmith, all these guys who were making hits before we were even born. These dudes are 60, 70 odd and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
They're still out there strumming guitars, screaming at the top of their lungs and all that kind of stuff. People are still, because it's so important in my opinion. Whatever you do, whether you're a road sweeper, whether you're a cleaner, you do things to your best, the best of your ability. You be the best road sweeper, the best toilet cleaner, whatever you're doing, you do to the best of your ability. So artist-wise, you've got a responsibility to be the best that you can be. Not just to fall in line. Oh, okay, you know. No, sometimes you've got to like challenge this quote unquote system. How many people, if we look back musically, how many people have done that? Michael Jackson, the king of pop.
Yeah.
Forget all the rest of the stuff. Musically, the king of pop. And no one will be able to replicate what that man did in regards to the reach, people fainting, all kind of different thing around him and all that at his peak. You know, he made an impact. He made timeless music. Artists are true artists, no matter what. We simply remember when we stumbled across that Dead President soundtrack.
Yes.
Them Al Greens and all that.
Yep.
And we were like, what?
Yep.
Huh? you know,
man.
like this is that should be the goal of all artists. I want to make at least out of all of the body of work, come on, give me 5%, give me 10%, give me 20% of a track of tracks that we can put on. Sibling, we can put on tracks from 1990 that still slap today. You could give to a youngster and they'll be like, yo, okay, who's this? When did this come out? I heard this. Yeah, it's came out in 1990 still. We can play stuff from the 70s.
Yeah.
Slaps.
But the only thing is with pre-recorded is I kind of feel they don't care enough. You know?
In what sense?
In terms of, say, for instance, this came out in such and such a time, so such and such a date. You know what I mean? For them, if it's 2 years old, that's old. I'll listen to that. You know what I mean? That was 2020. That's old. What's 2022, 2023? And that's all they're on. And I shouldn't say that's all they're on, but I think that's the way the system is driving them towards. Because if you think about all the platforms that are being used now to interact, that's how they manipulate the audience. Everything's new. Swipe,
Trending.
swipe. Yeah. But I think if it's done the right way, you know, we can still connect to the real artists, and there's ability for, you know, up and coming artists to still provide and show that they are an actual artist. It's just they're going to have to approach it in a different way. And it may be having to perform and create something brand new live on stage with the input from the audience. Maybe. You know, I'm probably giving away so many jewels right now, but
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, man. With exclusive, man, nothing but exclusives. Listen, you're providing. We are providing so many different avenues, ideas, which are more than feasible, and things. I mean, ultimately, there's nothing new under the sun.
No.
Nothing. So even this AI. Well, no, I'm not even gonna go there in detail. But even this AI thing. It's new to us in regards to the concepts, the idea,
yeah,
but this ain't new.
yeah.
Well, Rock, correct me if I'm wrong. The computer was modeled off what?
How do you mean? Sorry.
The basic computer, the technology made, not necessarily the technology, but the idea and the processing power of a computer is modeled off what?
So we're talking about like abacuses and calculations?
No, not that far. I mean,
Oh.
like the electronic computer.
I'm not sure where you're
Okay.
coming from there,
So,
but
so the computer is a model of the human anatomy, i.e.,
Right.
the brain.
okay. So when you talk about the components,
Yes.
okay, yeah,
Yeah. So all we have done is we have seen, understood, experienced, and then replicated in a different format what we have seen externally.
yep,
So there is nothing new, quote unquote, that will be created. It will be a repackaged version of an idea, of a thought, you know, of a product, of a service, of an item, of a tangible item, which has just been, you know, manipulated, been massaged a little some,
yep,
you know.
and it's been made better in certain
Yes.
senses. And on that note, the last thing I would say: who or what could have been here before humans? AI and robots will be the newer, greater versions of us. What does the future hold? Because if they are a representation of who we are we going to be needed anymore? And with that, I'd like to thank my good friend from way back in the day, as we say, Noble. Thanks for coming through and sharing your thoughts and views, and, you know, enabling us to educate and grow amongst ourselves and with the audience too. Is there anything that you wanted to share before we wrap this up?
Honors, man. Firstly, honors for allowing me to grace your platform. So, you know, honors for that. Firstly, make sure if you haven't subscribed, subscribe.
Yeah.
Watch the rides, keep the content. You know, this is a very interesting platform, tech-wise, and having these interesting conversations, man, most definitely. The only other thing what I would say is obviously check out all the links below in the description. Jump over onto the Instagram and check out my sponsor, Supreme of the UK, outside of that sibling, I'm here and I'm enjoying the content. I'm enjoying the journey, and I can't wait till we get to the destination.
Yeah, man. Whatever the destination looks like, we're on the road to it. So let's enjoy that travel, man. All right. So thank you all for tuning in and taking some time to listen to what we had to say today. I hope this inspires you to have conversations within your circles, with your friends and family, and also work colleagues and whoever you come across in life. But please be vigilant. Keep your eyes and ears open in terms of where technology is and where it's going. And have a great week. Peace.
5, 4, 3, 2.